Morning everybody, happy Wednesday. It is day 17 of our daily language diary series. We are just tearing through this month of daily videos. It has been amazing. And I really want to call out how unbelievable the comment section of all these videos has been. Not just all the great questions you've been asking, but all the amazing experiences and thoughts and all the great knowledge that many of you have been sharing and interacting with each other. It's been great to watch. It's been great to be a part of. So I just want to say cheers to just what a great community. All right, I think it's time for another daily question. James Robson writes in and says, "Hi, really love this channel. It's a motivation every time." Thank you, James. I've been learning Japanese for 3 years now, albeit very slowly. I started with a textbook and found it really difficult to keep motivated. So I changed my method a few times and found a strategy I like. But now I'm at a stage where I just feel that nothing I do is working and my knowledge is so varied I find myself knowing parts of intermediate and parts of beginner while not feeling comfortable with anything. Has anyone else had such a feeling, kind of lost in the woods looking for the right path, if you know my meaning? So first of all, James, I want to let you know that this is really common. I myself have felt this way many times, and I think that most people will go through this at least a time or two while learning a language. But in addition to that, I actually think that you are in a really good spot if you take the right steps going forward. So the good news is that I think you're in great hands here. Not just the video, but I'm sure that our community members are also going to share a lot of great thoughts and experiences with you in the comments. So I'm now going to give you some hopefully actionable steps you can take, a nice analogy, and just some closing thoughts. So the main thing we're going to discuss today is this idea of consolidation that I talk about a lot, but we're also going to talk about how I think my language learning tracking sheets that I designed are also really helpful for solving this issue. So I'll also leave a link in the description for the video about how to make a tracking sheet, and I think I'm going to design one you can download in the future, similar to my dead time planner that you guys love. So if I were you, James, what I would do at this particular stage is I would take a deep breath, step back, and I would plan a nice consolidation phase where you really take your time. I would sort of identify what are the things you've done, what are the resources you've studied. For Japanese in your case, I highly recommend the Genki textbooks. Genki 1 and 2 are superb, but this can go for any language. And what I would do is I would plan to really take my time and go back and sort of review all that material. Because the cool thing is it's all in there. You've learned a lot of this stuff. You've been doing this for a while. You've gotten to some intermediate content. All you need to do, in my opinion, is just sort of go back and not only build your confidence with that knowledge and sort of revive it, but also create kind of a nice system of organization. So I like this analogy I thought of this morning of like a computer where you have so many like folders and directories and so many files, and they're all over the place and they're not well organized. And you know that all those files are in there. You know that you've taken the information in, you've put it somewhere, but it's so unorganized and you almost can't remember anymore how to find things. It's difficult to retrieve information, and the task of remembering a word becomes really overwhelming because there's so much in there and it's all really dispersed and disjointed. For me, this process of consolidation feels like saying, okay, I'm going to go back, I'm going to start over, I'm going to create a beginner folder on my home directory, and I'm going to nicely go back and organize all the things I've learned, filling in any gaps that I had, reinforcing my knowledge, building my confidence, and I'm going to end up with this nice sort of folder where that knowledge is organized, it's clean, and I can now move on feeling comfortable accessing those things that I've learned. Now again, it's not a perfect analogy, but it feels a lot like that for me. Now what I would do if I were you, as you're going back through and doing these beginner resources and sort of consolidating and refreshing that knowledge, I would go and follow my video about how to create a language learning activity tracking sheet. Now it's not only helpful for sort of making your progress in a language tangible, because you can go and anytime you can see that sheet, you can look at all the nice bright yellow squares, and you can clearly remind yourself, no, I have made progress. This is what I've done. But it is also incredibly helpful for these types of scenarios where once it comes time to review, once it comes time to consolidate, or maybe even if you forget the language one day, you have to walk away from it for a long time, and you say, I want to come back and refresh everything I once knew. Well, those language tracking sheets are this sort of like chronological history of all the things that you once covered and all the things that you once knew. And lastly, it helps to give you a roadmap. So if you then say, cool, I am going to go through the Genki 1 textbook, the Genki 2 textbook. I feel confident that these resources contain really all the core fundamental stuff. And I know that when I get done with that, if I just take my time, I'm going to feel a lot more comfortable with all that stuff. But then maybe you say, cool, after that, there's this and this sort of intermediate resource. I want to do those. So like I said, it gives you this comfort of having a roadmap because you have a plan and you know that all I have to do is check in every day with my language and fill in one box on this tracking sheet. You can feel comfortable knowing that if you just fill in one box every single day, you're gonna get to your goal. And James, the reason why I say that I think you and anybody else in this situation is actually in a really exciting stage of language learning is that it's all in there. You've covered this material. You've been doing this for quite some time now. You have a certain level of comfort with Japanese that if you were to compare yourself to when you started on day one, I am sure it is night and day. If you just take a second to think back to what it was like to look at kanji for the first time or to look at this language and think, oh my God, no matter how sort of disjointed it feels now, if you think back to day one, I would bet that you have come a long, long way. And in my experience, every time I sort of pause and say, you know what, I'm gonna take a breath and I'm going to go back and really consolidate and refresh the things I've done. It almost feels like you've been running a race and you've been running for a long, long time. And as you're learning all these things, they're getting heavier and heavier and you're getting out of breath and you're getting more and more tired. And every day studying and trying to speak, it feels like so much effort because you're kind of exhausted. Well, for me, taking a break, taking a breather, and then just going back and saying, I am okay if this takes me 3 weeks. I don't mind if this takes me 1 month. I'm gonna be okay with this consolidation phase because I know it's good for me. Well, to me, that feels like literally taking a break from the race. It feels like going and having a massage, having a nice cold beer, whatever you would like. And every time I finish doing that, it feels like I just had like a night's sleep, I'm fresh, I feel lighter again, and I'm ready to just continue that race with full energy, full speed ahead, and it just feels great. So there we have it. It's pretty simple. I really do believe this, James. If you just like take a step back, take a breather, take some time to think about the resources you've used. You mentioned how previously it wasn't working and you found a system that worked for you. Take a look at what was it that you did? What did that system look like? But also I would sort of take inspiration and take motivation even just from the fact that doing this phase of your studies is going to benefit you so much. And I believe if you find a way to sort of, like I said, consolidate everything you've learned, I guarantee that through this process, you're also going to find some gaps and some things that, oh, like, I didn't learn this before, or, the first time this didn't make a lot of sense, but now it really makes sense to me. And if you create this sort of language learning activity tracking sheet as a roadmap up front and really stick to it as you go along, I promise you that once you get through with this, you're gonna feel so much more confident, and I would bet you're gonna feel like a pretty comfortable intermediate, and then, oh my God, it gets so much fun. Then you have the world of graded readers or simplified readers or simple books or all kinds of cool resources like shadowing books or watching dramas or watching animes or watching movies or any of these things you want to do. Maybe even simple podcasts. Oh my God, the resources are endless, especially for a language like Japanese. And that's all going to be at your fingertips if you just take the time to go through this and give yourself a rest. You deserve it. I really hope that helps. I love this topic. I would love to hear, of course, all of your thoughts and your experiences. Let me know in the comments, and I will see you back here tomorrow for another daily language diary video. Happy Wednesday, happy language learning.